trying to catch you slipping. I do have a question for you guys, though. So let's rewind. Let's act like it is December 31st, 2022. Okay? I got 4 options for you guys. What moment would you not have believed more of? Okay, so like, I'm gonna give you these 4 options, and it's like, oh, that's the one I would have never said would have happened. Ready? Number 1, WWE being sold and the product being better than it has in decades. Number 2, CM Punk returning to AEW and getting his own show on TNT. Number 3, CM Punk returning to WWE after getting into another backstage fight at an AEW show in Wembley Stadium that drew over 80,000 fans. Or number 4, Cody Rhodes not winning the world title for the entire calendar year of 2023. So it is now December 31st, 2022. And I'm like, hey, which one would you pick? And you say there's no way that happened. Which one is it?
You almost got me on the third one with the CM Punk at Wembley, getting the backstage brawl, then going back to WWE. That's a lot. I'm like, okay, y'all doing a little too much. But it's going to have to be, because I thought it'd be a cold day in hell, or even more colder day in hell, WWE being sold. It has to be that first one. I thought Vince would take that to his mother freaking grave.
Hey, what's the time frame for this? Was this, you said 5 years ago? What did you say? I'm sorry, I missed that.
Last year. So this is New Year's Eve. This is New Year's Eve, December 31st, 2022. And I give you those 4 options and say, which one are you just like, oh, that's no way that happened next year? No way.
See, my answer would be different if it was more time away.
I know.
Because I think we started thinking that Vince was going to sell the company. All signs pointed to it, especially when
that it would be better?
The best in decades. The best in decades.
No. I knew that. That wouldn't be nothing for me. Because like, I've been a Vince hater. As much as y'all think I'm an AEW hater, I've been a Vince hater for probably the past 10 years. I think his creative is horrible. It's horrible. So, yeah, I knew it was going to be better. But I think we talked about that they would potentially sell. Like, it just seemed like all the cuts he was doing, they're making like all this money, but he's still doing these budget cuts. It seemed like he was kind of sweetening the pot for a potential sale. But for me, I got to say it's Punk back in WWE on WWE TV. Because leading up to that last brawl, right? We ain't seen Jack Perry since. But we're going to talk about him later on. That Jack Perry took CM Punk out of AEW. But I think bigger than that was CM Punk going to WWE because he had been so venomous, right? He was cutting anti-WWE promos, almost like 8 years ago. Not 8 years, 8 months ago, it seemed like, right? It seemed like he had nothing good to say about the company. And you think about, this is a company that drove him out of the business in his own words. So I would say for me, it's Punk on WWE TV. It's surreal.
Yeah, that's the one I also went with. And not because of him coming back to WWE. Because at this point in December 31st, we already had Brawl Out. So we didn't know what was going to happen with that. The kicker for me with that, though, is them drawing 80,000 fans in Wembley and then him getting into a fight backstage at that show after Brawl Out had already happened. That one would be like, no way in hell. Like, you just made that up. Hey, that's great content if it ever happened, but that ain't going to happen. That was mine. And then probably the second one would be Punk getting his own show. Like, it's over now. Collision's not over, but it's, that whole chapter and saga is over. But really think about what that was. And we're going to have, we probably need to start planning our like year-end shows, plural, because there's a lot to go into. We can probably talk about like, MVPs of each company, best storylines, best pay-per-views, all that kind of stuff. So we got to start planning that. But I mean, if you kind of think about what Collision is, like, they gave him his own show on network cable television, not network, but cable television. And it didn't work. He's gone now. And they're still sitting there with this show. That's crazy as hell. But that's good stuff. If you guys are listening and watching, let us know which one you would take out of those 4 scenarios. Hey, rewind back to New Year's Eve 2022, and which one is just like, no way that happen. Would love to hear your guys' thoughts on that. Let's intro the pod, because I want to talk about what I've been saying for months now around Seth freaking Rollins, the architect, and it was on full display Monday night on Raw. Welcome to the TFW podcast. This is episode 89, if I am not mistaken. We are your three hosts, three the hard way. I am Matt. Rhodesia is there. Eshaun is there. Let's get into it. First, let's start with just the main event of Monday Night Raw. Thought it was fantastic. It was funny. I was talking to somebody, and we knew they weren't going to pull the trigger on Jey winning. It's a great story with the Umaga thing, of course. 14 years or 15 years since his death anniversary. He's in the main event for the World Championship. He's not going to win. But to be able to get 20, 25 minutes on a Monday Night Raw main event against Seth Rollins for the title, that was an absolutely poignant spot that if he hadn't proved it up to that point, that he is not a legit main eventer in WWE, I think that point is fully made right now. What was your guys' thoughts about the match, and then I guess really just how that match went?
I knew it was going to be a good match. But I guess more so for me, I really enjoyed Jay's promo package.
Ooh, that was fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, he came across really well. To me, the Usos are the greatest tag team ever in the history of wrestling. But to see Jey transition into this main event level character is a sight to see. So I knew the match was going to be good, but just from a character development, and we had no questions around could he be a main event level wrestler. And I'm glad that he's proven me wrong, because I was unsure. I thought, maybe a mid-card guy. But he's definitely an upper tier guy, and he's proven it.
When we first started the match, I was like, okay, what's happening? But it was just only for the first couple minutes. When they kicked it into the next drive, and the next drive, and the next drive, the match was getting better and better and better and better. So overall, I really liked the match. But initially, I'm not going to lie, the first 2 minutes, I kind of was like, what's happening here? Is it just me, or does it feel like Jey trying to find out another word other than yeet was kind of out there? Or is it just me? Maybe because I was waiting to hear yeet, and I know that he wasn't going to say yeet. It just felt a little bit awkward. Like he wanted to say it, but he couldn't say it.
I thought about that, and I was like, oh, don't say it. Don't say it. If you guys don't know. And have y'all seen if you haven't seen it, pull it up. I tweeted it, so it's on our X account. So check it out if you are not following us at That's F&W. So what happened was there is a independent wrestler that I guess owns the rights to yeet. I don't even know how you own the right to yeet. We've been seeing yeet since like the Vine days, like years and years and years ago. But this shirt looks like, and shout out to him, because hey, he's doing what he wants to do and doing what he loves. But I would think typically whenever something like this happens, WWE goes and they say like, hey, all right, how much is it going to cost? They settle and make money and boom, boom, boom. Because remember, these shirts had already been made, these yeet shirts, and they were flying. So I don't know if my man just put his feet in cement and said, I'm not budging. This is my catchphrase. This is my IP. I'm not moving from it. Or if WWE didn't want to do business. I don't know what happened, but these shirts look god awful that my man is standing 10 toes down on. So hopefully he is moving them unlike anything in the world. So yeah, so yeet is now going away. So there is no more yeet for Jey Uso. So I was waiting to see when he was doing his promos, and I think he talked to Adam Pearce, and I was like, is he going to say it? And he talked to Seth. I was like, is he going to say it by mistake? Mm-hmm. And he never did. So shout out to him for
like,
not
let's go. He's like,
it.
Or he said something like, let's go. He made some kind of gesture. And I was like, that should have been yeet there. But no, overall, I thought the match was what I expected it to be. But when it first started, I was a little bit like, okay, let's see. Are we about to get another Jey versus Roman on us? No. And I'm like, nope, but it didn't.
Awesome false finishes. Mm-hmm. I thought Drew was going to interfere in the actual match. That's how I thought the match was going to end.
Same.
And my dad is actually staying with us this week, which was funny because, of course, like, I wouldn't say he really got me into wrestling, but he absolutely enabled me in watching wrestling. He used to watch back in the day, nowhere near like to the level that I watch now or, you know, watched kind of growing up. But I can always tell when something's really, really good with him because he'll react. He no sells almost everything in the world, right? So we're watching the main event, and actually we watched the entire 3-hour show. And he never said like, "Hey, why are we still watching this? Are you turning?" I don't know when's the last time he's watched wrestling. And he's actually started even asking questions about like, who is this, who is that. So one of the false finishes toward the end, it may have been the splash, and it was the close 2 count. And his response was, "They ought to stop this." And I was like, "They got him," because that's how he reacts. Like even back in the day when we used to watch together, he would make comments like that. And I just bring that up because when he said that, the only thing I could think about was, man, they're doing something right. They're doing something right. For somebody who hasn't maybe watched an actual episode of wrestling in 20 plus years to react to something in the main event. But once again, that kind of goes back to making somebody feel. And making somebody feel is what I want to talk about right now. I have been saying on this platform for a few months now, Seth Rollins' theme song is more over than Seth Rollins, the wrestler. This is in no shape or form a knock on Seth. Love Seth. Seth's going to go down as one of the GOATs. When I kept talking about that, it was just a point of his song is more over than him because of if I had to bail, I would ring it, emotional investment. I expect to see him Punk chants. We got that during the match. Cool. I expect that. If you don't know what I'm about to talk about, go back if you can. I'm sure the clip is on YouTube and watch the crowd reaction, most notably the ringside fans, when that 1, 2, 3 is counted and Seth beats Jey Uso. There ain't many happy fans around ringside. You got a few people clapping. The majority of people that I saw, though, they didn't have a despondent look on their face, but it wasn't a, hey, let's give these guys a high five, or, man, yes, my guy did it. Seth Rollins did it again. I think there's something to be said about that. And when I brought it up a couple months ago, it was just that he's not as over as Cody. He's not as over as LA Knight. I think even then I was saying he's not as over as Jey Uso, and he doesn't have to be. But I do think there can be a conversation to be had around, is this title reign fully working when you pull back the layers? I am not talking about people buying a ticket to see him. We know he is. People, one of the big things about going to a show is singing his song. Okay? Before I get your guys' thoughts on it, one of our guys on X, one of the better user handles. User handle is y'all done messed up. That's actually his name on X.
Love it.
Send me a really smart
God, I messed up.
series of tweets. He said somebody made a comment about Seth reign consisting mainly of going over guys that, at least in the audience opinion, haven't gotten their shot yet. Although it's worth pointing out that they seem to be teasing a Damian Priest outing of the Judgment Day and a face turn to coincide with the cash-in. So maybe WWE's playing 4D chess here. Also, Rollins is in the inevitable position of trying to both establish a new belt and serve as the foil to Roman, which by definition means a long reign with a lot of defenses and a lot of wins. I also don't think he minds being the de facto heel in some of these showcase defenses against rising babyfaces, so he's actually perfect for the role. And the fact that there is real disappointment left when he wins against someone that it makes no sense for him to drop the belt to means he's doing his job. Before I give my response to that, what is your guys' response on one, just Seth's, I'm going to say, lack of reaction to some of these other top baby faces he interacts with, and then what he said here in his tweet?
The first part was going to be a unique situation anyways with Seth and Jey because they're both faces. Yes, because Seth walks to his own beat of his own drum, and Jey does also in a sense too, but I wonder, when you mentioned the people ringside, is it because they wanted Jey to win, or was it just like, oh, whatever, okay, Seth won again? So I like to kind of, I want to go back to see it for myself to see how I feel about that. But again, we're going to kind of get that when you kind of have two faces or two heels. Again, you got to know who am I rooting for. And they addressed it. They said that, hey, Jey was a person who deserved it. So we kind of went into it knowing there was going to be two faces going against each other. That second part of that question, I got a little bit lost and confused. So I would just say that it is harder for a person to make a new title relevant while still trying to be whatever character they're trying to be, because now you're doing two things, and that's hard. And again, for the last few years, everything has pretty much been on Seth's back. And I'm not saying everything, but we know Seth has been the workhorse for that company the last few years. So trying to get a title over that we knew was only created so that there was an actual heavyweight championship title that was being defended, and him still trying to be whoever he is, the architect, the messiah, the fashion goddess guy, whatever. It's just a lot that's on his plate to do. And I will say, though, that his reign for me has been lackluster, but I believe those are the reasons why probably has been lackluster for me.
That was a very insightful email or message.
I
totally agree. Yeah, they done messed up. I think it's spot on, because I don't necessarily have a problem with his reign per se. I think the problem that we have overall with Seth Rollins is his character. They've never truly defined who that man is and what he's about. He went from being a obnoxious, zany, over the top heel character, right? And I'm all about characters, and that was maybe something he worked out with Vince, and he was kind of like a Jokerish type character. When he did that impression for one of those Manias, and he was Joker. Mania. That's who he is. He kind of being a Joker character. Then he transitioned that character into being a face, right? But he still tried to incorporate those same elements that he was a heel into his face. He comes out in these outlandish outfits, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not too outlandish, because you look at like the NBA players, they wear some of the same shit. I don't know what's going on nowadays. I mean, it's not. I guess it's not. I don't fit the demo no more, right?
Right.
I don't know what it is, but the everyday person can't relate to my man wearing 70s bell bottoms and a futuristic tank top, but then he comes out and he's yelling at somebody like he's serious. Bro, you can't wear high heels and me believe in you, man. I mean, I'm just saying what it is. So his character is not fully defined, right? But when you look at who he's going against, like a Jey Uso, we can all relate to Jey Uso. Like, right, he's been betrayed by his family. He's very relatable. He's very likable, right? Cody, like, he's, take the suits away from him. He's a guy who's trying to restore a family name. Oh yeah, of course he's a black man, so I relate to him that way, right? But he's trying to do something. He's trying to establish a family legacy. He loves his family. He's trying to make his dad proud. Like, he's relatable. So he's just going against guys with characters that are fully fleshed out or more relatable than the character he's presenting, which is part of the problem. But overall, I think he's doing a good job considering. And I think it's just a matter of time before we transition to a different champion. Like, right, it might be Punk, could be Drew. We'll see at Mania, and we'll see where that takes the Seth Rollins character.
Yeah, like when I read this message, and I told him, I said, hey, we're going to talk about this on the pod because it's really insightful, but there's a part that I vehemently disagree with. And I understand what he's saying. In his last part of his tweet, he said...
What a big word.
And the fact... Man, come on, man. You know how I got to get down. And the fact that there is real disappointment felt when he wins against someone that it makes no sense for him to drop the belt to means he's doing his job. And that is where I will disagree 1,000% and say that means he's not doing his job. What he means by that is he's putting over the other talent. He's making the other talent. He's making the crowd believe this talent has a chance to beat him. So when they don't, the crowd's disappointed. Hey, that means, right, Seth, you're doing a good job. But it's actually the opposite. You can't have a top baby face and have the crowd disappointed that they won. That drops them down a peg every single time that happens. So when you put him in there and up against, Cody Rhodes face to face, the Shinsuke Nakamura feud, and this is kind of where it started, when the crowd is chanting, singing, burn it down, they're chanting, and then Shinsuke beats the hell out of him, and then the crowd immediately flips to one more time. They're not emotionally invested into you as Seth Rollins winning and keeping the title. They just want to see violence. We haven't had one of those chants outside of Brock Lesnar with Cody Rhodes, right? We haven't seen that against LA Knight. You ain't gonna see that against CM Punk anytime soon. That because the fans are really there for that person. And it is what it is because Seth is entertaining, but I do think there's been something missing with him just as a character, that other piece. And maybe it's the piece of, hey, what's really driving you? You brought up the whole thing of the Joker thing, and I thought that was like Emmy worthy. I'm like, hey, send that to the Academy, that commercial with him and Becky. I thought it was fantastic. Okay, like that's you. Cool. That is what you are. And when they flipped him, and then it's like, okay, but now what is it? Okay, great. Why are you laughing right now? So whatever. You guys know what I'm saying. But I thought that was a good message. I wanted to bring that up. But I do think that it is going to be even more interesting now of where this story goes, because Seth could easily come across as a crybaby against Punk. Oh, you're back? Like, okay, as soon as you mess up again and you're gone, I'm going to be the one here, still trying to hold it down. That could easily come across as like, oh, you jealous. Oh, okay. So it's going to be fun to see how they play it, but I did want to bring that up. So if you guys hadn't seen the end of that match, go back and check it out and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about there. The only other thing from Raw that I really want to get into, and there's a lot from Raw, but we got a lot on the docket today. 2 out of 3 falls match I thought was really good. There's some other things too that I thought. Nia Jax, once again, another plus performance out there. But Drew McIntyre is, if I had to rank him, he's probably a top 5 personality right now in wrestling for me. He is. I always talk about KO as that wrestler that he's the only one that watches the product, right? Yeah. He knows how the talking segments go. He knows how if you keep saying somebody's name, they're going to show up. Right, Drew is like the common sense guy now, right? Like he's the one, like he's using literal common sense on all of his actions. And it's like, how can you hate that? You can't hate that. He's doing heel tendencies and he's still like slapping hands with fans coming down to the ring. You got to love it.
So his shot at Punk, and he even said, hey, I can be talking about anybody, but what did y'all take about his shot at Punk?
He tweeted the same thing again, and I think he said the exact same thing, like, I could have been talking about anybody. We know who he was talking about. I love it.
I just hope they signed that man to a long-term contract.
I would hold out as long as possible if I was Drew.
If you were Drew, yeah.
Absolutely. I would hold out to the last day because that price is going to go up, up, and up, and up. If the rumors are true about some of these contracts coming up, we'll talk about a big one.
Pay, right?
We'll talk about a big one here later on the show. But I told you guys, like, I've been so excited about 2024 because there's so many contracts coming up. You hold out. I'm still being used on TV. I'm still in a prominent spot because I'm not going to go out there and sandbag or do anything unprofessional. So I'm still going to be in a spot. All right, I'll hold off and see what that number looks like from everywhere before I put pen to paper, or before you give me what I want from a creative standpoint. One of the two.
But damn, guys, what a lot of riches on these WWE shows. Like, wow, we said it before, but they have so many high level main event caliber wrestlers that can now go against the Roman Reigns, and you can believe these guys can win. Like, the future's bright, definitely, for that company.
Perfect segue, E. Perfect segue. YouTube comment and question from D's4600. Shout out to D's. He said, another great show. I think he was watching our last show. He said, question, could the current WWE roster have the potential to be the greatest in history, both stories and wrestling, from the men and women? I actually answered him in the comments, but I want to hear your guys' thoughts first before I kind of just tell you what I said.
First off, I wanted to say, man, y'all got some names on y'all.
Charlotte McGay. Damn, y'all got some names on y'all.
Angela Lee. Hell yeah, it's crazy because just how this time last year, I remember kind of having a thing like, all right, H, like you took over in August, September. but Raw was starting to be a little bit stale, like a little bit in January, if I can remember correctly, to the point where, I mean, these are 3 hours again, I'm feeling it. And you go from that, and again, you just trust the process, and we trust, and this is what we get. I mean, you look at all those top names on the men and women's side, and you're just like, wow, you luckily got all these people on your roster right now, and they're all important too. Like, again, it's like if you're not the top 3, top 4 people in the company, you're not anybody, or you're a mid-carder. No, we have like 8 to 10 people. Like, that's once in a lifetime type stuff right there to get.
Man, it's what a time to be a fan. I actually thought about that, on the way home. I was talking to somebody about wrestling, and we were just talking. They're like, "Hey, what was your favorite thing to do when you were a kid?" I'm like, "Well, I used to have GI Joes, and I turned them into wrestling characters because they were more flexible, more bendable." And so, ever since I was a little boy, I've had this love of wrestling. And I just thought about, wow, this is a great time to watch wrestling in general, WWE, AEW. Just talk about free agency next year. But to answer that question, it makes you think it is a great time. But damn, man, like if you didn't grow up around the Attitude Era, man, they had so many greats, right? You had The Rock, you had Stone Cold, you had The Undertaker, you had Triple H. Then you had, the Booker T's came in, and then you had the Hardys, and then you had the Dudleys. I mean, golly, y'all. Like back then, they had so many stars. And it kind of reminded me of like AW when they first started. Like I was into everybody.
Yep.
I was into everybody. And that's how it felt like with the Attitude Era back then, because those are true. Like I'm not going to sit here and say a lot of these guys outside of Roman and my main man, my brother from another mother, Cody Rhodes, aren't going to be Hall of Famers, because they certainly are. But those are legit Hall of Famers right now. So it's one of them. It's definitely a great time, but I don't think it's the best.
So you're still going with Attitude Era?
Oh yeah. Without even having the list in front of me. I mean, just to have Stone Cold, Rock, Undertaker, Triple H. I mean, those guys are like, top 10 of all time guys.
So, okay, so you named off. So we're on the same page. My response was, I think the answer can be easily, this time can be better than any time in the past. And I named off, yes, we did have Austin Rock, Triple H, Taker, Kane, Kurt Angle, Mick Foley. Mick Foley.
Jesus.
Dudley Boys, Hardy Boys, Edge and Christian. I mean, we can go on and on and on, right? Of legit bona fide Hall of Famers.
Chris Jericho.
Steve Blackman. Steve Blackman was the man too.
Hey, I was a Blackman guy, man. You on the island, you on your own with that one.
But so the names I named off now though, as I said, so right now, and this is under Triple H, that we've kind of just, I think we all agree that product's been better this year than it has in decades for WWE. You got Roman, bona fide Hall of Famer. Cody, bona fide. Actually, everybody I got on here is, I think, bona fide Hall of Famers. I put Roman, Cody, Punk, Seth, Orton, Rhea, Gunther, Becky, Bianca, Charlotte, Usos, KO, Sammy, Brock, LA Knight, EO, and then I said that's also not even including NXT. That ain't including the Tiffany Strattons. That ain't including the Mellows. That ain't including the Roxannes. That's not including any of them. And then now you're talking also the potential return of Sasha Banks. Minimally. That's not even anybody else who would jump from AEW like a Ricky Starks or like a Wardlow or whoever may jump within the next 12 months. It's an embarrassment of riches, man. It really, really is. And I think that this is one of those moments where it pays to not be a loyalist. So I think some of the loyalists, the people who just don't
Absolutely.
watch one or the other, right? Say even they don't watch AEW, because maybe you were talking so much shit about AEW. If you go back and watch now, you look like a hypocrite, right? There is no way, there is not something that WWE is doing right for you. Even if you hate the bloodline, even if you hate all the champions, there is something they're doing right. Either the lucha matches, either their presentation, either, you know what I'm saying? Like there's something that you can watch and say, you know what? Yeah, AEW is still my favorite. Yes, Impact is still my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Yep.
Ring of Honor is still my favorite. But man, that what they're doing with that person, all right, I can get behind that. So that's why I don't know if I believe that these folks actually just don't watch at all. I think this is like their gimmick. But to your point, E, it is a time, man, because they're not stopping anytime soon from what it looks like at all. Either company. As much as, you know, we still have issues with AEW's creative, and then I don't know if you guys saw that what's his name? Kevin Sullivan got released. He was like the VP of post-production.
Oh,
He got
wow.
released yesterday from AEW. Wow. Now, I come on here all the time and talk about the production misses, the camera shot misses, the bad angles, things of that nature. He was the VP of post-production, and I never want somebody to lose their job. So I'm not saying like good he lost his job. But I wonder if that was the reason or if it was something else. Because I don't know if him being the VP of post-production is the same as like the producer of the show, in real time. Yeah. So I'm not too sure of that. But like, I mean, even like AEW, I think they just show what 150 or 170 million dollars like gross profit or something like that this year. Man, wrestling number. Is such a fantastic state right now.
And I don't know if we talked about that on the last episode or if those numbers came out after that. But you look at that 170, like that's incredible. And we can sit up here and talk stuff about them and talk about their opportunities and kind of where they can improve at. But hell, kind of almost like, how can you tell a billionaire that they're wrong?
There it is.
It's almost the same thing.
That story about Heyman. Yep.
Yeah. Like how can we say that about AEW? I mean, we can't because we are true fans of them and we only want them to do well. But just in general, this company just made almost $180 million in profit. Who am I?
And looking to get at least 50,000 people at All In again this year.
And it's crazy. You brought up NXT, Matt, because WWE set up their future. Mm-hmm. Like, right? They're not slowing down anytime soon. They got guys in the way, you know, on the rise. AEW has some young talent on the rise. So this industry is in good hands, right, Rhodesia?
Yeah. And, you know, you're talking about the talent in NXT, WWE. We talked about it on last episode toward the end about Jade Cargill. So after Survivor Series, we had the scrum, or WWE call it the press conference. And Triple H someone asked a question like, hey, we've been seeing her. She's been there. And all of a sudden she goes missing. What's up? And so H pretty much just said, hey, I have no less belief in her now.
This was like all I heard from his answer.
Like, just beat around the bush or shooting. Oh, shooting. Got it. And then what he leads with, it was no fault of her own. She pretty much, they saw what she could do development wise. And that's what he made it very clear to say, development wise. And I'm quite sure there was a lot of opportunity there for them. And I appreciate H for saying, I don't want her to ever get a pitch that she's never seen before. And that was something that I was beating the horn or the drum about. E was beating the drum about. Put her in NXT, let her learn, let her get some at bats. Because when you do put her on that stage, because she is a goddess, when you put her on the stage, man, don't make her fall. This could be like the biggest. She could be the face of the company. Just even like over the weekend, she's PR. She's going around doing PR stuff, handing out titles to Nelly. Nelly's like, oh, thanks. You know, it's just like.
Hey, and shout out to Nelly too. Nelly done messed around and got Ashanti pregnant.
As he should.
Let me
should.
Yes, that man. To them. You know, there's times in life where you get a second chance to make a first impression, right? Nelly said, "I ain't losing it this time. I am not wasting my opportunity this time." He made sure to lock her up.
And it better be a boy. It better be a boy.
Why is that?
Oh, Matt know how they say you get boys. You got to go deep. You gotta go deep.
I've never heard that before. Thanks a lot.
1999 OnlyFans TFW. It is coming.
Hey, real talk. Though,
got you, baby.
I didn't know what a pro necklace was until like 2 years ago.
And you, oh man, see, that's a comment for like the after show or something.
Yeah.
Like I had a perfect one about. I'm gonna leave it right there. I'm gonna keep that one in the tuck.
Let's fast forward then.
But okay, so H basically said like she's not ready.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right, we assessed her and she's not ready.
Development-wise, yep.
Development-wise.
Yeah.
I mean, but this is though when you have something special, you can only make a first impression once.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if she went out there and she worked the exact same way she worked in AEW. You can't do that. And no, she wasn't horrendous, but man, we've talked about it numerous times.
Yeah.
She was not as far along in the ring as she needed to be. And I mean, Triple H said it's not fault of her own. I don't care whose fault it was. Say if it was her fault.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. But just go down to the PC and train for a while. And I mean, I think that do you now hold off and have her show up at the Rumble and just win the whole damn thing? Is that where we are? Because there's no way we see her beforehand. There's no need.
No, there's no way that she should ever be shown beforehand in the ring. And I was going to ask y'all, when do y'all think we're going to see her in the ring? I still feel Royal Rumble is still too early. That's just me. I want her to be in NXT. I want her to be on Tuesday nights up until.
You can't put her on NXT. You can't. You can't put her on NXT. You can't. I'm telling you, you can't.
Okay.
Not as her main show. Now, if you want her to go down there and do what she's doing, like some of the main roster talent's doing, I'm not saying that. I'm saying NXT can't be her home.
So you mean she can't be like signed, the quote unquote signed to NXT?
All
I know is she needs to be in front of a live crowd in a controlled environment. And right now what we have in that is the NXT on Tuesday nights.
In my opinion, and this is going to sound like blasphemy, but it's not. Having her exclusively to NXT, meaning she is an NXT contracted talent, will be the same way as on SmackDown Friday or on Raw Monday, CM Punk says, I'm signing to NXT. They made way too big of a deal out of this signing for you to put her on NXT. The cool thing about the Rumble, so walk with me through this. Maybe we'll clip this.
You could protect her actually in the Rumble. Now that you say that, actually, hold on. Exactly. We could protect her in the Rumble.
Right?
You're right. You're absolutely right.
And if you wanted to,
you're right.
If you wanted to, guess what? She wouldn't have to wrestle again to WrestleMania.
Yeah, no, you're right.
If you wanted to do that, she wins the Rumble. She comes out a couple weeks later and decides which title she's going to go for. Right? Because I don't need to wrestle. I am the number one contender. And then we do some appearances.
I just need her to still I still need her to get some at-bats of being in the ring, giving moves, taking moves, getting live audience responses under the machine. I need to see that now. If that's how it's going to look, she wins the Rumble, and then she comes out and say, I'm going to come after whomever. And then she said, but in the meantime, I'm going to just let NXT keep me busy, or whatever kind of, boss comment she'll make, then so be it. But I want her in a ring in front of live people, making mistakes, not making mistakes, and working through it before I see her on WWE main TV.
Rhodesia just said boss. Is she saying it's boss time?
I didn't want to say the B word because I don't like using the B word, but some people say the B word.
Well, you said boss. That's a B word.
The one that rhymes with itch.
Oh, no.
Oh.
It's like I'm that.
Who's the baddest bitch on the block?
Brandy said
is that Britt?
Rhonda. That's Rhonda.
Yeah,
no.
Rhonda.
Rhonda was the baddest.
No, Rhonda's the baddest woman on the planet. WWE wouldn't use the word bitch.
Oh.
So I think it was Britt,
on the
right?
Block.
The baddest bitch
on the block?
It might have been.
She would have said block.
Britt called herself a B.
Yeah, I think so.
But not on the block. Yeah. Baddest on a block?
Now, when I pull it up, you're going to apologize.
E,
what you got about this, man?
I agree with Rhodesia. I like to be careful when I talk about Jade because she's a queen and she's one of my favorites, and there will be no Jade slander on this show, at least, especially not for me. So I'm still going to mince my words. If she, I'm still trying to find a way. I don't know what she's trying to show me there.
I know she's trying to show you that I'm
I
right.
don't know what she's showing me.
Yeah, Dr. Britt Baker said she's the baddest bitch on the block.
Thank you.
Yeah, I thought Matt might be right on that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to dance around.
No, man, I need you. No, see, no, I need you.
I'm not doing it.
All right.
I'm not doing it for
we
Jade.
all love Jade.
We
all love Jade, and I'm critical because I want when the millions and the millions of the people see Jade, I want them to be like, oh my god.
So here's the thing, like y'all know me, and y'all think I'm critical. I can be. The things I think in my mind aren't.
No, you've told
say
me.
Out loud.
You've said these same critical things
like
about Jade. You just don't want to give it up on the platform.
I'm not giving it on the platform. I'm not giving it on the platform. I'm just not going to do it. So I'm trying to think of it. So if Jade wrestles like she did her last match in AEW,
she's gonna be fired.
it's not gonna work. And so, and I said to you on the show, I think I said it in private. Like when Jade gets ready for TV to wrestle her first match, she needs to be ready to go. It's a different go for women on WWE TV. She belongs in the conversation with some of the all-time greats in the company right now. She belongs in the conversation with Charlotte, Becky, from the way she looked and her potential, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that bell got to ring. Right? And she needs to be able to go at that level. So whatever they need to do to get her ready for that so she can reach her level of potential that I think she has, she needs to be ready. So as I said, I'm cool with her going to NXT and her being the focal point of NXT because I think that NXT doesn't have the star. I think that she can go there and she can be the star of that show. For a woman, I think that'd be great. She can be, and then she still can do appearances to pop up on Raw and SmackDown, etc., things of that nature. But as Rhodesia said, it's a controlled environment. She can continue to work every single day at the PC, smoothing out her craft. Whatever it's going to take for her to get caught up. Because again, I'm trying to sweet talk it, but those AEW matches ain't going to cut it on WWE TV. It's just not. So give her time because, as you said, you can't make a first impression. I don't want to see her go out there, because for me, I don't want, I think like Matt, you have a strong opinion of Lexis King. I don't want her to go on WWE TV and someone have that impression of her. Like her to go out there and have all this, pump and stack says like, oh, this girl's like the next thing. Yep. And she go out there and she pooping the bell in the match because it's a way different level than she's been. I think that she can be ready, but let's get ready first.
Do you want to update the listeners on your thoughts on Lexis King now? We haven't brought him up in a few weeks.
No, he's fine.
It's okay.
I mean, here's so Lexis King. What do we expect him to be? Do we expect him to be the next main eventer on Raw or SmackDown? Or we think he's just going to be another guy on the show? I think he can be another guy on the show. I mean, if he can be more than that, great. But he's going to be another guy on the show.
No, which is fine. I'm just saying those promo packages set him up to be way more than that. That was all. That was my entire point from day one.
Oh, so he let you down then, huh?
No, he didn't. I think when I saw those promo packages, I was like, this is a really big deal. And I just hope that he can match it. It would be the same way as if they made those something like perfect. Okay, this is a perfect. You kind of said already. If Jay would have premiered on NXT a month and a half ago, you'd be like, is that the right move to make? And of course, they would give her the pomp and circumstance with promo packages and all that kind of stuff because they made a big deal when she came in. She showed up to the PLEs and she was on Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and now we put her in the ring. You would be like, oh, she's not really ready yet. And no, Jay's going to have a much higher ceiling than Lexis King. I'm just saying the way they presented him with nobody knowing what Lexis King is, I do think it has not been great since.
But if he has limitations as a worker character, they can always work around that. He can be the segment character guy. Yeah, I think it's fine.
Or I agree. Bring back his video packages when he main events when he gets on the main card.
The exact same ones.
Bring it back.
The exact same
ones.
Save
money.
Right.
Save it.
Recycle.
Just save it. Because all they do, remember, it's just images of points in time of flashbacks or stuff. So just redo it again. He can still be sitting in front of his television watching it. Save money.
Let's let's transition to AEW. We didn't talk about this on Sunday, and I wanted to get to it. Wardlow. We've talked a lot about the devil. E, you even asked a couple shows ago, like, do we care about the storyline? Do we care who the devil is? Rhodesia and I both said absolutely. See, some things came to light on last week's Dynamite, and we'll see on tonight's show if anything else is added. It has to be, because Joe and MJF is fighting two of the masked people. So I don't know if they're ever going to take the hoods off so we see who those two people are. But it feels like this is starting to be a, like, everybody against MJF kind of devil storyline. So I'm going to assume that was Wardlow that came out that led the other guys to hold MJF. He looked like Wardlow. He had the devil icon on his back. And then immediately the next segment, which is a Wardlow match, he comes out with his hair all disheveled, like he just had a mask on. So we know that was...
He just had sex and he had bad hair.
I don't think that's the case. But if we want to ride with that, let's ride with that then. Okay. All right, so he just had sex.
It always goes back to sex with them.
Yeah, and I still think he was still in that devil interaction. What's your guys' thoughts on... Okay, now we know for a fact he's involved. He may not be the devil, but he is 100% involved now in the story. Does that make you more interested and excited to see this playoff? Does it make it less? Are you less excited? Like, where are you at now with how that played out?
I think it's starting to get a little messy for me, but I'm still engaged. I'm still excited. I do think that was one more layer of him coming out with a little messed up hair. I like that because it's supposed to make me believe something there. And who knows, it may not be. He might have actually just got out of the closet getting his grind on. But point is, I'm excited about it.
Hey, again, we know what's happening when this podcast is over. I mean, goodness gracious.
It's getting a little convoluted because, like you said, it's a little bit of... Again, I don't mind everybody going at MJF and have him being in all these storylines, but it is making the devil story kind of confusing and hard to keep up with everything. And I think that is by design. I wanted to ask y'all, maybe after y'all tell me what y'all got to say about it. Do we even know who the devil is? I would only imagine Tony would have already had this booked out months ago.
Man, he has to. You're talking about, does Tony know, right?
Yeah, does Tony know who the devil is right now?
He has to. He has to. Now, granted, I say he has to, but we've seen so many times in wrestling history where they don't know. We can go back to what was the hooded person supposed to be against Austin? It was Vince, and he takes it off, and he's like, it was me, Austin, it was me all along. They didn't know how that was going to finish.
Wow.
I mean, we can go back, like, in history, any of these, like, whodunit type stories, the majority of the time, either they don't know or they end up switching who the person is. But I've said it before. One thing I do like is they typically stick the landing on AEW stories.
By hook or by crook.
Am I a little worried that on this one? This one may not stick. I'm a little worried because I thought the easiest way to tell this story was Adam Cole's the devil, right? And it's a straight shot about Adam Cole's the devil. And if you want to include Roddy as the henchman, and maybe even bring back Undisputed Era, cool. It makes sense. We can go back to, hey, just pull up all these flashbacks of how I made you do what I wanted you to do, MJF. And we just go flashbacks to ROH, tag team, and wrestling twice in one night, over and over, all that kind of stuff. But now that Wardlow's involved, and there's thoughts about, okay, well, are the other pillars involved too? Because of the Britt Baker tweet, and then Jack and Sammy liked the same tweet about MJF not restoring the fill-in. It's becoming a lot. And I'm still here for it. I am still here for World's End. But I'll tell you what, if at the end of that show, we don't get a finality to this story, it may jump the shark for me.
E, before you go, I want to just throw something out there. I know who the devil is. I've changed my mind on everybody I've said previously and all the conversations I've had in my head of who the devil is.
Who is it?
It's Tony Khan. Getting his payback from that voicemail MJF left him years ago.
I said that a few weeks ago. That Tony's the devil.
Where was that?
You should have been on the show.
Oh, go ahead.
You should have been on the show. But I hit the arrow for you because you were really, like, impassioned about it. Like, that was the case.
I was like, I can't. He can't.
You
talk yet.
you might as well say
say
it. I know what it is. I know what it is.
With the finger. Okay.
I know this is what's going to happen. Go ahead, E.
You know what? I hope that Tony Khan stays off TV, man. Because behind the scenes, he already thinks that he has to have every job behind the scenes in order for the company to see. Can you imagine him? Like, not only did I have to run the company, I had to be as big as Raw. I had to go online. I had to do everything. Like, can you imagine? I'm the biggest star. I'm the promoter of the booker. I just couldn't, man. It'd be ridiculous. But
that might be your best impression actually on the show so far.
Yeah, you know that one. You absolutely
especially with the
nailed
shaking
that
of the
one,
head
yeah.
and stuff like that. So yeah, that's it. You got Tony there.
It's funny. He's talking about that monkey has eyes closed. I've never in my life been threatened by my life at an event. And then he kept getting louder trying to go over the fans. I'm like,
I hope you.
Hey man, but that was heartfelt. That was heartfelt. I do it like that. Whenever we do like our top, that damn sure ain't like top 5. If we got to like a top 20 moment, that would be like probably like 18 or 19 for him to go out there in front of Chicago and say like, I fired y'all boy, and this is why I had to do it. I give him a ton of respect. He easily could have just showed that video package. I tell you what's funny though, when they were here for the day after or the day before Thanksgiving Eve, the Dynamite, typically anybody who's been to an AEW show knows like Roberts get on the mic and say somebody wants to come out or, help me welcome Tony Khan. He'll come out, get the crowd hype before the show. Tony walked out at about 6:58 Central Standard Time. Wasn't no announcement. Tony creeped out on that stage and said, "Hey guys."
Yeah, I thought he jumped the rails.
Just want to say thanks for being here. And you guys know it's a tradition for us to be here in Chicago on Thanksgiving Eve. This is our home. We got a great show for you guys. Stay tuned for Ring of Honor after the show. There's gonna be some great matches. The Continental Classic is a really special thing for me. Let's go. And so he leaves, right? And Rhodesia's like, that's interesting. Like, they didn't make a big deal out of it. I said, because he didn't want to get booed.
But first
like,
off,
if Roberts would have got on the mic and said, whatever he calls him, I forgot what he says. Tony Khan, he would have got some boos. And he didn't. The crowd was respectful, which was good.
I'm just saying that when he first came out, it almost sounded like somebody jumped the gate or jumped the rails, grabbed a mic and started talking. Because it was like, because I'm looking at Justin Roberts and all of a sudden we hear somebody talking and it was TK. And after he said what you just said, man, he's like, all right, we're going live in 30 seconds. And then he walks off with his gym shoes on.
Yep. He cut it so quick, he almost got hit by the pyro. He cut it so quick.
He sure did. He sure did.
We're out of time. But back to the Wardlow and Devil thing. I think Rhodesia just mentioned that it's kind of messy. I think that I don't like that the main character has been in like 8 different stories because I think none of it means important if they're trying to make everything important. And I think definitely like the Devil should like that should have been like a large story thread I guess they're kind of doing like Supernatural, like the villain of the week, right? You got the big arcing story thing going in the background, but the Supernatural guys are killing off the bad guys. So maybe Samoa Joe, all these other people are just the villain of the weeks for him or something. But I don't like that, and I think it's messy. If Wardlow's part of the Devil's group, it'd have been more impactful to keep him off TV until he's revealed as part of the group, right?
I agree.
To bring him back to be going after MJF this entire time, then to be ultimately revealed as part of this group, like we're just surprised in that. Like we hadn't seen him in quite some time, so it would have been a big shock factor for him to be because they could have did like a slow reveal. I think kind of Aces and Eights they did that in TNA, which I kind of didn't see a lot of that, but back in the day. But I think slowly over time, he started revealing like the different members of the group. I think most of them were masked at the time. Over time, certain guys kept losing their masks, etc. What a pop or a feel we would have had if at week 3 of this storyline, it gets revealed that Wardlow's part of the crew. We've been wondering where he was. Mm-hmm. I think previously he just was a face, so now he's a heel. That would have been a shock. I think that would have been a better scenario if he does indeed end up being part of that group.
Especially to your point, because the story they're also telling with his matches, you know, the knockout power bombs, right? Like that doesn't correlate to anything with the devil. So I mean, I guess maybe a better question, and we can move on after this. Will the devil be one person when it is revealed, or is the devil going to be a multitude of people?
Yeah, I'm confused.
It could be.
I'm still going to go with it's one person.
Oh no, I said I'm going with Tony Khan. So never mind. TK.
No, we're not going to TK.
It's one person.
But let me ask you guys a question though. So I was, you know, I've been thinking about the Hardy Boys lately. And I don't know what made me think about them, but I'm like, man,
do you watch Rampage?
I don't watch Rampage, so I hadn't thought about the Hardy Boys. And I'm like, man, where are they? And then I want to say maybe a week ago, maybe it was last week, Hardy Boys and Brother Zay were going to be on Rampage. Like, oh, okay, I guess they've been on Rampage. I don't really watch Rampage very often, so I watched Rampage. And I watched the match. I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, oh, you know, I haven't seen the Hardy Boys in some time. Of course, they're going to win this match. Nope, they lose the match. And I'm like, man, the Hardy Boys, future Hall of Famers. Well, they might be WWE Hall of Famers. I'm not sure. I don't remember. I
not yet.
All that stuff. But future Hall of Famers, right? And
yep.
Jeff Hardy, particularly, huge fan of his. To see where they are now, right, on Rampage, doing meaningless jobs is definitely not where I think they want to be at this stage of their career. I think this was their last hurrah as a team. I think they wanted to go out together. And for them to be going out together on Rampage doing jobs, I'm like, man, this isn't ideal. So I started thinking to myself, you know, what can we do to get the Hardy Boys back in the limelight in a positive way? And I'm like, maybe they should turn heel. Like, right? Like, maybe it should be a heel turn. I'm going to bring that to the team and see what they think. And then all of a sudden the next day, I sent Matt a tweet, and I'm not sure how old this video was. It looked pretty recent.
Had to be pretty recent, right?
Yeah, I was trying to look for the context of the video. I couldn't find it. But it looked pretty recent. And Jeff Hardy spoke to Matt. He said, hey, he's decided about possibly or potentially turning heel. And, you know, we all know Jeff. Jeff gives up storylines and interviews. Like, he's done it multiple times over the years.
Even then, he was like, hey, I hope you don't mind me saying
I hope you don't mind me saying that. Yeah. And, of course, you know, Matt Hardy's like, yeah, sure. Like, he's not going to throw him under the bus in the moment, right? He knows Jeff. But so I'm like, oh, so they're actually entertaining the idea. So I got two questions for you guys. What do you guys think about a potential heel turn for the Hardy Boys? And I wanted to bring this up now because in my mind, you know, like my video game mind, I'm thinking, okay, would be a great way to use these future Hall of Famers. I think it's a shame that AEW hasn't used this Hall of Fame team, right? And they've neglected them to a Rampage. Like, what's the best way they can kind of put them instantly back on the map? What better way to reveal them as part of the Devil's group, right? Like, you know, they could be under the hood. We haven't seen very much of them. You know, it kind of plays into if Britt is particularly part of this group, if she has problems and issues with how she's been used or lack of. I think Jeff Hardy even spoke in an interview recently and said he feels like a ghost backstage. Like, right? He feels like he's being underutilized. Maybe this is a constant theme with these guys as part of this group. That, hey, you know, MJF or AEW, they're not treating us right. So we're here to take over. What do you guys think about a potential heel turn for the Hardys and potentially them being part of the mass members of the Devil's group?
A heel turn is probably irrelevant for me just because I didn't know that they were faces. I just don't watch the Hardys. I got to be kind of careful on my view here about the Hardys because I don't want to talk out of both sides of my neck. I'm the same person who said I don't want to see Jeff Jarrett on TV anymore because he's already over the hill, and I want the young talent to get a chance. You mentioned Hardy Boys; they lost on Rampage, and I feel like maybe they are supposed to. I think that's probably why they're there to help other teams, help other people develop. So having the Hardys be relevant Is that something that I want? Okay, sure. But then it's going to go against everything I said about making sure that then your young talent is actually being portrayed properly. So that's kind of like a slippery slope for me trying to justify it on both sides. My hope now that Edge is in AEW, well, Adam Copeland is there in AEW, that we would get the final hurrah of the Hardy Boys and Christian and Adam. But having them part of the Devil's group, again, that'd be cool. I get that's probably what put them back on the map. But to me, I feel like that's neither here nor there, because if they're jobbers now, then whoever MJF was going to be fighting, like I would imagine that those people were like they can beat MJF, especially the two of them. But if they're like beating down old guys, I don't understand like why I would be intimidated by the Devil's team. But anything, I guess, because the Hardys, they're nostalgia for me. I love them. If whatever we can do to make them relevant again, great. Because right now, I don't know even that they were on Rampage until y'all mentioned it. So long answer to say all that. Sorry.
Long answer is what?
You don't care.
Pretty much. But if they are the Devil people, okay, I would think that you could probably book something better than that. I would probably want to see Undisputed Era rep more in that role than the Hardys. But if it's something to get them back over, to give them the props, because you do have these Hall of Fame talent or future Hall of Fame talent, to make them important, so be it. But I wouldn't care either one way or the other.
Goes back to creative. And I'd actually tweeted out from Hardy's podcast, I think late last week, where he made a comment about he felt like they would be in a different position right now. He felt like they're not being used properly. And I just quote tweeted and said, translation is, we're in meaningless matches that nobody cares about, and we're not being treated as the legends that we are. And that's what I think. Saw a lot of people's responses over the last few days around Jeff Hardy and his troubles and his battles. And remember that he was gone off TV for however long it was. I don't remember,
Like
6
year.
months or so.
I feel like a year.
9 months, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
But you're back at work. Like either cut and move on, or if they're back at work, utilize them. I'm not saying put the titles on them, but if we're going to keep them employed, how about we use them? And let's use them the way we need to use them. I get the whole trying to help private party. I get that. But I came out here a few weeks ago and just said that AEW does a tremendous job with legends. Let's look at Sting. Undefeated. He's going out the way he wants to go out. Hopefully, an entire pay-per-view really highlighting him. But then the Hardys are just another tag team. I don't care if they are washed, right? If they are washed, if you're going to keep them under contract, then how about we just still use them in big stories, and maybe we only see them work 5 times a year, but we still put them on a pedestal as the legends that they are. Because you best believe if they were to leave AEW and they come back to WWE, we're getting Hardys versus the Usos when the Usos get back together. We're getting those big matches as like their farewell. And no, they can lose all of them if that's the case. Yep. But put them in a position where I care about them. I would have never thought, honestly, when the Hardys came back at that WrestleMania in Orlando that we were there for, and then Matt Hardy shows up as a broken version of himself in AEW, I would have never thought I would be like, I don't care about the Hardys, get them off my TV. But it is strictly presentation. Satnam Singh said today, I think it was, or yesterday, that he's back in India, I believe, because he said that, in all words, he said, like, what are we doing here with creative? Like, I'm out here. I don't really have a role. I don't have a story. So I'm going to just go home. And then, like, let's figure out what the story is. I'm not saying Satnam Singh is the next 5-star bout machine. But what I can say is when you got a guy that's 7'4", until he's ready to go in the ring, until we have a story, don't even show him on TV. Make sure they're ready and then make it a big deal. I don't want the Hardys with the Devil, but I wouldn't mind. This, I think, would be kind of fun. Have them with the Young Bucks when the Bucks come back on TV as like heels. I think that's better than the Devil storyline, but I would rather them not even be with a group. I know. So to answer your question, I would rather keep them faces, put them as the legends that they should be. And if you don't want to do that, release them. That's
So
the part I'm
where-
at. Like you got way more talent. You got enough talent that if the Hardy Boys aren't there and you don't have stories for them or you don't want to use them because you don't trust Jeff, and if you don't trust Jeff, I get that. Just cut bait, man.
But I guess when I'm gonna play devil's advocate on the other side of things, if I'm a young talent, why would I want the Hardy Boys to get the limelight to win matches? Are you saying that they don't necessarily have to win matches, just have them in meaningful matches? Is that kind of what you're saying?
Correct.
Got it.
Meaningful stories.
Meaningful stories.
That's what I'm saying.
And here's the thing there's a beautiful thing about wrestling is that if you can look the part, you can still go into your, mid to late 40s as the Hardy Boys are. Like, right? So when we say old guys, if you think about the WWE, you got Bobby Lashley, who's darn near 50. You had Shelton Benjamin, darn near 50. AJ Styles, 46, years old.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just because these guys are late into their 40s doesn't mean these guys need to be jobbed out because they're old. If they can still provide value, then you should still put them in prominent positions to do that, because Jeff Hardy has gotten back in good shape. Now, Matt Hardy has looking kind of sadly broken down for some time now, but they're still valuing what they do. And I thought maybe a heel turn would be a nice move for them, because now they can work a different style. Like, right, Jeff can work a different style. He doesn't have to pretend like he's the Jeff Hardy, in his 20s and 30s. Now he can work a slower pace. He can work heelish, and that might benefit.
Feet on the ground.
Exactly.
Right?
And that can benefit maybe a couple babyface teams to work with a heel, Hardy Boys. Because again, they have a big name value and people still know who they are. So there's still value in what they do. And speaking of valuable, 2024, we talked about it earlier. It's going to be a big year for wrestling. And one of the most valuable commodities or free agents.
Oh boy, come on now. I know you're
going to be my man Okada. Right? The Japanese Rock.
The Rainmaker.
Right? He this guy who just oozes it. One of the best wrestlers in the world, potentially a free agent. And it's like some scuttlebutt online. The booty is that he's up for grabs. AEW, WWE, New Japan. Where does he sign? And I gotta be honest, guys. I know that the WWE is doing right by the international talent. They haven't actually booked their international talent this strongly in probably a long. But he doesn't speak English, and so I'm uncertain if he can connect with the audience as a main eventer on a WWE show. I'm not sure what he can do in AEW because they don't have any of those international talents presented in a high level there. Where do you guys want to see him? Do you think he can overcome the obstacles as far as, language, connection, communication? Do you think him being a great wrestler will be enough? What do you guys think? Where do you want to see him? Where do you think his future is?
Kazuchika Okada will re-sign with New Japan. I want to say this, though. The first time I saw him, it was at the Super Show. No, I made that up. It was at Madison Square Garden. It was one WrestleMania weekend. Matt will probably remember the name of that show. It was, I think, maybe ROH versus New Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And
Super Card of Honor.
Super Card of Honor. And I didn't even know really. Well, I mean, I guess I knew him from NJPW, but he was never like my favorite wrestler. Matt always said that he was like the John Cena of New Japan. But it is something electric. When he came out, it was just like, who is this guy? It was an aura about him. The kids say now he has aura. He has aura. There is no doubt that he would be a huge contract. But there's no doubt in my mind he is re-signing with New Japan. He is. If he wants to stay as a wrestler, he's going to sign there. Because to all the points that you mentioned, again, the language barrier, he's had roughly a 20-year career there, and now he's going to uproot everything to come to the United States. I just don't see that happening.
Well, and there's the kicker. Here we go again. Because the reason why this is even a thing is because they're saying that he is very much open to the fact of wrestling outside of NJPW, right?
Well, NJPW or out of Japan?
NJPW. This could be a whole nother situation like Ospreay. If he signs AEW, he ain't moving from Japan.
Right.
He'll wrestle what, fucking 10 matches, 12 matches a year.
Yeah.
For AEW.
Stay at home.
Still work probably Wrestle Kingdom every January. You know what I mean? Like,
I just don't think that I don't think he will be, we would appreciate him, we as wrestling fans would appreciate him enough, or the proper way he should be, if he came to WWE.
Well,
That's
H wants him. H is a big Okada fan. He is.
As he should be.
He's a big Okada fan. Yep. So if I had my bet, right, like, say if he's like, I'll move anywhere. If I got to move to the United States, I'll move to the United States. If he said that, of course I'm going to say WWE. Because I think WWE is in a position right now where they know how to utilize top talent. Until they show me they can't.
Mm-hmm.
In the last year and a half, they've shown me they can utilize their top talent. Even their international talent. This is probably Shinsuke's best year, God, since he had the match with AJ in Dallas or New Orleans that he lost, right? Io's having a hell of a year. Asuka, hell of a year. So if you look at the international talent, but then you just look at the talent overall, they're cultivating the talent the right way. But I think AEW definitely needs him more. But the issue I would have with that signing, and it's just for a me thing, is like the Ospreay thing. His top talent needs to be exclusive to AEW. Right. I get if the only way if I can get him is let them work NJPW, okay. But if I can still see Ospreay on Indies and in NJPW, yeah, it's great that we have him in the AEW ecosystem, but he needs to be exclusive. Mm-hmm. Like, and it's to be the same thing with Okada. So January 31st is his contract date, expiration date. If I had to bet money, man, it would be like 60-40 NJPW to AEW, probably. Because I mean, just because Tony's going to overpay. That's the other thing too. Tony's going to pay him more money than New Japan ever could pay him. He's going to overpay what WWE would pay him just to have him. So if I had a bet gun in my head, I would say if he's leaving the NJPW, it would be AEW. What I would want, take all that out, I would want him to go to WWE.
My only problem with either non-Japan scenario will be how we connect with the audience. I know we got Shinsuke, but you know he's doing the subtitle videos, right? Mm-hmm. So you don't want to do the same thing with Okada, right? With Io and the girls, they have Dakota as kind of the mouthpiece for the most part, right? Or you know, at least with Asuka, you know, she was kind of doing the non-verbal. You know, she had like the dance and some of the crazy stuff that she was doing. You're not gonna see.
And she talks in Japanese. She'll just talk to you in Japanese. But
it's you know what she reminds me of? Like she reminds me of like I was so my parents when they were here during the holidays, you know, I was trying to find something to watch, keep them entertained. We was watching Martin. And I watched, you know, we were kids now. Like I forgot how funny of a show that was. And each episode was like a new episode to me. I didn't remember most of them, but they had Shanae on there. And like just the stereotypical 90s ghetto black girl. And that's what Asuka's kind of doing. She's like this ghetto Japanese girl. I don't know. She's doing this thing. Wow. I don't know what she's saying, but she's showing so much sass and so much attitude that you draw to it because it's so much personality. I don't know what she's talking about, but it's a lot of personality there. I don't see Okada doing that. He's cool as a cucumber. Is that a saying? I think it is.
That is the saying. Yep. Found that out about 2 years ago too.
Like, so I just don't see how he can connect with somebody if he can't do it through the microphone, right? So unless they get like an excellent mouthpiece for him, and I don't know who that would be, like I just don't know how far he can go because here in America, it ain't just about matches. Like in Japan, you know, you can kind of get away with that, right? But here, and if you're going to be a superstar, you got to be a character. You got to be bigger than the sport itself. If he goes to AEW, I think it's still going to be a similar type of deal, right? He's going to be there to have some good matches, but who's going to represent him? Because we got what's my man? Don Callis is with him now.
Don Callis.
Naka's with him. Like
Not Ibushi. Oh my God, what's his name? Dang.
It's about Takeshita.
Takeshita. Yep. You know, he's gonna go there. He's gonna.
And I'm irritated by that. That's another one that he had all the momentum in the world, and it has went to a screeching halt.
And what does he do when he's there? He just stands next to Don while Don puts himself over and makes himself the focal point.
Yep.
Don's very entertaining, but I just don't know who AEW will have for him to kind of represent for him. He would need a situation that just popped in my mind, like Penta and Phoenix have, right? And Alex.
Yeah, maybe.
You know
what? Or the
who's on their roster?
Well, the other thing you can think about too is if he went to AEW, he's got so much stock and equity with the fan base. You may not even need that. Like, he's gonna be able to get over. He can get over for a year and a half, 2 years from just his name. It's Okada.
You look at Shibata. Even Shibata, it's over. Yep.
It's Okada. Like, you show us a video package and like we're in because we already know what Okada is. Of course, the WWE fan base doesn't know who Okada is. So to your point, that would have to be a completely different presentation. Presentation AEW is hit that Rainmaker music.
Yep.
And we're off to the races.
But can I ask you guys a question? So that means that the AEW audience are already going to fall in love with them, right?
Correct.
So do you pay someone more than WWE is going to pay him? Go. I don't know if we talked about it because it's getting late in the day and I'm losing my mind. But we talked about WWE is going to be overpaying these guys, like potentially Drew. So, WWE is going to be slanging some big money contracts at these folks. And you're thinking that Tony is going to overpay these big money contracts to get Okada.
Just for Okada.
Do you think you do that for a guy who's not going to bring any more viewers, buys to your company, right? Because just putting him out there and saying he's just a great wrestler and he can't communicate, he's not going to grab anybody who's not already there. That was kind of my thing with Will. The people who are Will fans are already watching the show. They're already buying tickets or not buying tickets in a lot of cases. Like we're already talking about, some of these arenas aren't full. So do you bring somebody like that and pay him like that to where he's not going to take your business to another level? Not saying it's not going to be better matches, good pay-per-views, but I'm talking about more buys, more eyes.
Well, and you just summarized my issue with them not being exclusive. Because if I only can see Okada in AEW, say if I only watch New Japan, I may still skip AEW because I'm still gonna get Okada twice a year, 3 times a year. But if I can only get on AEW, I'm in. Same thing with Ospreay. Oh, I can only see him on AEW. Oh, I'm in. But when you allow them to do outside ventures, it muddies the water, and now I don't have to watch him there. Yeah, that may be his home base, but I'll see him when he's away and he does these spot shows and whatever else he's got going on. So from a business perspective, hey, he's a great businessman. And also, let's not forget too, he should be signing this new TV deal in 2024 too. So the money should be aplenty for him. But if you just say, if you're talking 1 + 1 = 2 and common sense of trying to elevate my business, if you don't have a major plan in place, then you're probably wasting a little bit of money.
Okada's resigning to NJPW.
Same way you started, right? Same way you started, same way you end.
Yep.
Well, then, if that's the case, we're going to start the same way we ended, which we're really not. Because I don't have like a final question like I did to the start, but we just going to end the show right now. Socials. I don't think I promoted the social. I talked about Twitter already. Instagram, that's FNW. YouTube, full episodes twice a week there. Check us out there. That's Freaking Wrestling. Hit that follow button wherever you guys listen to the podcast. All right, do that. Leave a 5-star review. Leave some comments. As always, we love to hear from you guys across all social platforms. If you got any questions for us, shoot them our way, and we will do our best to hit them up on the next episode. That is it, guys. Thank you for listening. We will holler at you on the next one. Peace.